Welcome to another Grit and Grime basketball podcast. I'm your host, as always, David Sagoe, here with Thomas Arnal.
Yeah, hi.
And Jose Garcia Vidal.
Hi, how are you?
Always polite, always polite. We're here to not talk basketball for a little bit. We are here to talk about good leadership. Oof. Now, I'm not going to get you guys to compliment me on my leadership and stewardship on the podcast. You know,
I had a 10-15 minute speech, really.
The guidance that I've provided, you know, just to ensure that the environment isn't toxic and that everyone's happy here.
I did file a complaint. Yeah, I did file a complaint, but
HR's not reached out to you yet. Where do you think
I retracted it.
Where do you think Mike is tonight?
Works for me.
Where do you think Mike is tonight? What do you think he's doing right now? He's compiling all this shit.
God damn it. All right. So before I get fired and my podcast is taken from me, I'm going to talk about poor leadership. We mentioned this on the pod a few weeks ago that there was a report coming out about Robert Sarver, owner of the Phoenix Suns, majority owner anyway of the Phoenix Suns, and his conduct. That article dropped over the weekend, and I've read through the whole thing and gone through a couple of deep dives and grabbed some opinions from around the place. And I just wanted to break it down here with you guys and you, the listener and viewer.
Hi.
If you're listening,
Dave
we're waving.
Is waving at
you, my audio description voice.
Such a description.
So we wanted to break it down. The article opens with a story about Robert Sarver complaining about not being able to say the N-word because Draymond Green gets to run up and down the court and say it all the time. And for those who don't know, Robert Sarver is the opposite complexion to Draymond Green.
Very much.
He's white, short,
whiter than snow.
White, short, and ugly.
And he's confronted by the head coach at the time, Watson, who tells him repeatedly that he can't say that word. Sarver himself then replies in the article, and he does this throughout the article, that I've never called anyone or any group of people the N-word or referred to anyone or any group of people by the N-word, either verbally or in writing. I don't use that word. It is abhorrent and ugly and denigrating and against everything I believe in, right? That was his statement. So the article is structured like that throughout, where the account is given, or the narrator, the writer, Baxter Holmes, says what happens. Then we have the quotes from either anonymous sources or named people. And then we get a reply from Robert Sarver, who knew the report was coming out and tried to get out ahead of it and provide a bunch of statements and quotes and rebuttals through his lawyers, right? So it's big, serious stuff. You can't make claims like this at a publication like ESPN without having really reliable sources.
Yeah.
And the article continues to tell stories of misogyny and sexual harassment. Some of it is Sarver, some of it is people that work underneath him. And yeah, it's cataloged. I think Baxter Holmes said, was it 70 sources that he
70
had?
Sources, yeah, 70. And it's not some like X amount, like he doesn't say a lot of people. He said 70. So he's very specific about that, isn't he?
And the 70 formers and is it current employees as well?
Yes, some of them
current, former players, journalists, all sorts of people involved in or within or somehow involved with the Suns organization
and working in different departments and not connected at all, and they all came with the same sort of stories. So it's, and they all also work in different time periods as well. So that's quite interesting that it's not something that is, put together and as a group thing. It's like, let's take him down. It's like, it's consistent with different, it's the same story being told by different people that are not connected over a long period of time. So this is where the legitimacy is, doesn't sound made up.
Yeah, you quickly find that actually it really paints a picture about the type of person that he is, right? It's not one of those stories where you read it and it's like, okay, well, this person had this experience, but that person had that experience. So was it just something that the two people or the two parties rubbed each other the wrong way, and now someone's lying in against the person and making them seem worse than they are, and then the person's defending themselves and making them seem better than they are, and the truth is actually in the middle? I don't think this is the case here. Like, it seems like best case, he is someone who's very unself-aware, very socially aware as well, and has put his foot in his mouth in ways that he could have received legal repercussions for in the past. It just so happens that it hasn't happened, right? But if we just start by focusing on some of the stories, that first story I think they used that story on purpose as the headline story.
The Draymond Green one, you mean?
Yes, because you have a current player who is very vocal, and then you have a named source in Earl Watson, who is named throughout the article, and I'm sure deliberated a lot about putting his name on it, considering at the time they started writing the story, at the time they started the investigation, which was a year ago, he wasn't actually in a job, but he will have been paid as a former coach, as a former player. He will have earned a lot more than a lot of the other people that are quoted in this story, and therefore would have had less to lose than them. He's currently an assistant at the Toronto Raptors while this is going on.
Yeah, so his job is at risk. So obviously, he feel, he's in a position where thankfully, I think I read it somewhere that where he can take that risk, right? Financially, he can take that risk and say, I'm willing to step forward. I understand why other people do not step forward. Also, not because they're just afraid of losing their jobs because of some retaliation, right? Which is fair, but also because they've seen other people lose their jobs because of that. So I heard Zach Lowe interviewing Baxter Holmes, and Baxter Holmes was saying that there's a lot of sources that told him that I raised inquiry or something to HR, was kind of told that's just the way Sarver is, that is fine. And a couple of months later, I was told I was being redundant. I was made redundant because I wasn't needed anymore. So then that means that nobody's gonna ever raise their voice. So I'm glad that Earl Watson is in that position where he can do it. And I don't know who the other sources are. I don't know any of them are confirmed that have allowed Baxter Holmes to mention their names, right? But it will be interesting to know who they are and what effect they can have in the outcome of this investigation.
I'm sure it'll come out eventually if there's some sort of case, brought, like an actual official case being made, and we'll get a lot of witnesses and a lot of different accounts being brought up and the actual names. It'd be interesting to see what. But yeah, the HR part of it is what's also very scary in this. It's them telling, officially they were telling people, like employees, to keep it quiet. Like there's nothing we can do. That's how it is, and that's how it will always be. But there was another, I think it was on ESPN, another journalist saying that some people in HR would actually go out their way and reach out to those employees and say, look, it's there's nothing we can actually do, like unless you want to get canned or
Yep.
Yeah, so their jobs were at the same time at risk, right?
Yeah.
And I heard Baxter Holmes saying that these HR people would almost want to, like, they kind of want to help these other employees, so they would say, let's not talk here, don't make formal complaint. Let's go somewhere else and talk about it and see if I can help you in some way, right? Which is really scary.
Yeah.
It must be horrible because part of HR, I mean, all the experience I've had with HR at work has always been positive. Like, it's actually people who care about people.
Right.
Like, you can argue, like, maybe, some managers, whatever, don't really care, but like the people that's sort of on your level in there to help the employee, that they want to do a good job as well. They want to be seen as somebody who's doing their job properly. Absolutely. Imagine being in that position within the company where it's like, well, my hands are tied. I can't help you. And you must, and what's going on, and if you have a little bit of empathy, like somebody else is going through this, and you're like, I can't even, like, I should be able to help, but I really can't, because he'll get sacked, and I probably will get in trouble with my own boss, if not worse, So that's not helping with the culture around that franchise. And it's weird because I mean, David always said when we talk about Sun's ownership, that it's a very peculiar type of guy already, like very stingy with his cash. Trying to save a lot. And it's like, I mean, one doesn't, you can be like that, but it doesn't mean you're necessarily the other. But what I mean is, like, there was already that weird vibe around him when you're in this, but you also don't want to spend cash, like usually it's like, well, I guess you can relate with Man United as well. But it's like, shot fired. But it's like, you have owners that come in and they just want to be there for what we don't know. You have to be able to sometimes bite the bullet and spend more cash. But I think that's part of his character, this persona, this guy that for some reason decided to do that. I can't really fully comprehend why people behave that way.
Well, and this is the interesting thing about Sarver and that type of person, right? He was born rich, right? His dad was a millionaire. He started his own bank when he was 21. That's how he made his personal
As you
money.
do. As you
exactly,
do.
Right?
Reminds you of any other person. I think he was a president recently.
Oh yeah, that guy. Yeah. A small loan of 50 million.
And I just want to throw it out there, like, not because you have money and you're born in money, you're a horrible person, right? So most people are not horrible persons. Like, this guy is obviously, like, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, born into wealth, and then made even more wealth, and it seems to all be part of a power trip, right? I think, is it towards the end of the article, someone's talking about how, I think it's a current employee as well, is talking about how he's not a dummy, right? He's not stupid, but it seems like he treats his other businesses a different way. He takes those ones seriously.
All right.
And then when he comes over to the basketball side, he performs.
So that's kind of interesting, because that's something that's been in the back of my mind, like, as I was reading about it the whole day. Especially the thing with the N-word with Watson. You know him? It's kind of, and again, I'm not saying he's not racist or that he's, you know what it is? It's that those kind of people that maybe socially awkward, or maybe that like they've not, if you're born in that sort of environment when it's like, talking about cultures and race, like, all you see around you is white people that look like you, that behave like you. And then you've got this little toy, the Suns, right? It's your thing. You've got a bunch of black people in there. You want to be cool. I'm gonna throw the N-word. But again, I don't like.
It doesn't justify it, but
it doesn't justify it. So and again, I'm not saying maybe there was, surely there was bad intent to the way he was using it. But like the way Watson was describing it, it's like, it's almost this guy that is like, he's never hanging around like black people or somebody that's a different ethnicity to him or different culture. It's like, I'm gonna throw the word in there, like
it's just so hard to believe that.
You know what I mean?
And I completely agree with you that might be the case, but a person of that stature, in a way, of such power, don't tell me that the guy doesn't have 20 PAs around him, public relations, like specialists, whatever, telling him, listen, mate, you can't do that, just advising you, which is in part, it's kind of like what he's doing now, right? So he admitted on saying the N-word in a specific occasion where he wasn't referring to anybody specifically, but just saying the word, right?
Exactly.
Which is a very clever, a very clever way of a very clever way of saying, look, did I say it? Yeah, I said it, but I didn't mean it that way, right? So he did admit into saying a couple of things. So I just find it really hard to believe that he doesn't have that person next to him all the time telling him, you shouldn't do or should do that. Like, so
do we know the context of when he said it? Was he doing a game or there was
it was it's in the story. I think it's he quotes someone else says it, and then he repeats it,
right?
And that was the only time he admits to using it, having said that he never said it at the start of the article.
I never said it apart from that one time when I did say it 3 times.
So here it is. So after the quote that I read earlier, he says Sarver did acknowledge using the word once many years ago. On one occasion, a player used the N-word to describe the importance of having each other's back. Sarver said through his attorneys, I responded by saying I wouldn't say N-word. I would say that we're in the foxhole together.
What?
Right? An assistant coach approached me a short time after and told me that I shouldn't say the word, even if I were quoting someone else. I immediately apologized and haven't said it ever again. The N-word has never been a part of my vocabulary. But then to believe that. He's also quoted as saying it, referring to the players needing an N-word because they're N-words type of thing. N-words need N-words, like they should be coached by Black people, by people like them. So, I mean, the funny thing about all of this is if there's no actual evidence besides people's accounts, it could be difficult for any serious action to happen.
Exactly. Yeah. You can't just go when it becomes someone's words against another. It's in court. It's very hard to win.
He's not going to stand. Exactly.
But I almost find it a little bit more. Well, like the use of the N-word as that did it again. Yeah, you can't really, But like like if he really said that you need Black people to train Black people because. Is that the gist of it? Is like
that's the context. Yeah, they need someone like them to coach them.
It's almost worse in a way to me. Like they need somebody like them. Like what do you mean them? Like
it's
a fuck. Like they're basketball players. They need somebody that understands basketball. And that's where I don't know.
And I think that the thing here, like I think regardless, like there's obviously. I don't think they're going to find evidence unless somebody ever recorded him or he slips another one soon and somebody's recording him. I bet somebody in his internal circle is recording him all the time. Like
Sterling, we had recordings of him.
Exactly. Right. So I'm sure something's going to come up, but if it doesn't, you can't judge him in court, right? You can't. But
not on that. But like if you find other stuff that's related to the HR thing, then
absolutely, because of sexual harassment, right? But I think that what is the big one, unfortunately, I don't want to say unfortunately. So that there's 2 elements here. Like one is the sexual harassment and the toxic workspace, and the other one is racism, right? So the race and the racism is what's going to make this case stand like stronger. I think, unfortunately. Sexual harassment on its own should already be a thing, right? But we've seen in the past with the Mavericks where Mark Cuban just apologized and donated a bunch of money and that's it, right? But when it comes to race, we're talking about a different story, right? So eventually, my point was that even if he doesn't get judged by an official like United States court, the guy risks the keeping the team, and I think that's important anyway, right? So because the owners of the other teams might just say, you know what, we want him out. Same thing that what happened with Sterling, and they're gonna kick him out. And I think that would be a healthy thing for it to happen anyway. It's not going to happen overnight. I think I was hearing Sagoe today, and he thinks it's going to take years. Like we're just scratching the surface here, and it's going to take years and years. And unfortunately, I have to agree. I think it should be quick, but it needs to be investigated. It needs to be proven. The NBA hired a private firm to investigate it, so it's going to take a while. But I think just by having 70 people come forward and saying this, the guy is not going to last long in the league. You know. Again, it might be years, but he's not gonna own the Suns forever.
Yeah, it's because it comes then down to kind of like a vote of no confidence type of thing, whereby if enough people within the organization or enough of the other minority owners have a problem with him, and then enough of the NBA owners have a problem with him, then there could be a groundswell, not necessarily to take his team from him, but they could eventually make the case that he is bad for their business, right?
And that's it. And once you touch somebody's money in the NBA, somebody's pocket, you're out.
Yeah.
It's bad PA. It's bad press.
But I do think as bad as some of the race stuff is, I think some of the way he treated other players with the misogyny stuff.
Oh yeah. It's horrible.
Also nasty. There's a story of him pulling down the pants of one of the players, and then PR comes over to him. Well, not, but either PR or someone in HR comes over to him and says, "Don't sue us," like almost jokingly. And
wow,
he's like, I didn't know what I was supposed to say to that at 24 or 25. Like, okay, then.
Of course, you're a young guy, like super vulnerable, right?
Yeah. Wow. And it's not like he was some big player on the team. Of course, it's not going to be someone like that gets treated like that. It's going to be someone lower down who's vulnerable, who wouldn't know what to do in the situation. And Sarver afterwards, again, tries to pass it off as a joke. Right? Oh, it was a joke at the time. Everyone laughed at it. Everyone took it as a joke. I realize now it was inappropriate, and I would apologize for my behavior type of thing. And there's that constant, like I said, it seems like he's always performing when he's with the team.
Yeah.
And it's that constant, almost like he's looking for recognition, like Tom said, to be a cool owner by doing these like really ridiculously childish things. There's the misogyny of the story with Blake Griffin's brother, Taylor Griffin, where he realizes that Taylor Griffin's brother works out a lot. I'm sure he's as bulky or more so than Blake, and he happens to shave his legs or whatever, removes the hair from his legs, as a lot of bodybuilders do. And Sarver asks him if he shaves his balls as well, right? Or if he waxes his balls too.
Well, he's awesome.
And then there's other stories about him talking about he needs to use a Magnum condom or something like that. And then he talks about his wife and have like, why do you need to, like, it's just such a toxic environment, and it's just bad. Because again, he might try to be cool, right? And when I was thinking earlier when you said 70 people and it's all different kind of things, but kind of like the same thing. So the thing about sexual abuse and harassment and racism, and it's not about the intent of what you're saying, it's about how the person takes it. So if you say a thing over and over and over again and one person feels bad about it, fine. You know, it might be just that person is maybe offended by that particular thing that you said, or because of their very personal niche kind of life or whatever. I you know what I mean? But when 70 people feel that this is bad, then that's wrong. It's you. So it's just so bad, man. I can't imagine just being so uncomfortable that you can't speak up.
Yeah.
It's
But
horrible.
that's power, right? That's basically the definition of power. The fact that he can say these things and have no recourse at all. For how long has he been the owner? Is it it's about almost 15 years or something like that.
15 years, yeah.
That he's been the owner. And yeah, just with no recourse, to the point where all people in the executive department, people in middle management, obviously people at the bottom, people in HR, even ownership, like parts of the ownership group have shown a lack of confidence in him. Mike posted the article in the group about one of the minority investors making a statement against him and showing up to a recent game, a recent Phoenix game with Colin Kaepernick.
That was me.
Oh, it was you? Sorry.
Yeah.
It was Tom, not Michael.
Mike's too busy doing HR stuff. Don't worry about it.
Defending Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
He's trying to drive up the trade value. It's Jam Najafi, who's a Phoenix-based businessman. Who showed up with Colin Kaepernick and made a statement, basically saying that there's no place for that type of behavior within NBA, within ownership, within business, and said that he offers their support to ensure there's full accountability. So it sounds like not only have other people been touched by the article, but also that there are people that heard these stories and were like, yeah, that sounds like Sarver.
Yeah.
One of the things that I don't know if any of you caught the Dan Lebitard segment on it with Amin El Hassan. Amin has been my source on Suns ownership for the longest. He worked there during like the heady Steve Nash days, and then was there for like the come down from that as well. So, and that so happened to coincide with Robert Sarver owning the team, right? The more involved he got, the more they started to fall from grace. And one of the things that he was saying is that Sarver is one of the least liked owners, Sarver is the least liked owner in the league. That
over James Dolan? Jeez.
Yeah. Saying something, right? And
well done.
That was the other point. The ownership group is not perfect. It's not like it's 29 Angels and Robert Sarver. It's not like it's 28 Angels, Dolan and Sarver.
Mm-hmm.
There are some other people with questionable investments. There's other people who have lobbied for certain things and certain people politically that you wouldn't say are in the best interests of women, in the best interests of Black people, minorities, etc. They're not a group of angels by any means, but he is still the least liked owner in the league. So he has a reputation. People know these things, and that's always the case. People are always going to know who the bad seeds are, who the people are that, like, oh, okay, maybe I'm not going to say he's racist, but I wouldn't trust that guy in certain situations, right? I wouldn't trust that guy around my girlfriend, around my wife, to not say something that I don't want her to hear, type of thing. Like, you always know who those people are, and it seems like he's clearly that, and people know him to be that. It's just going to be a matter of having a smoking gun, having proof, having enough evidence to actually get something done.
Yeah, that's the difficult part. Gathering evidence.
And then I think the saddest part of this is, like you were saying, Jose, the people affected by it, like the people really affected by it. There's people that have said that like their experience there was traumatic, so much so that they didn't even want to bring up a case against Sarver.
People that consider suicide.
Yeah.
Yep, there was one woman that had said that she was contemplating suicide while working there because of how bad the
Wow.
experience was. It's just horrendous. Some of these stories aren't necessarily just Sarver. It's also other executives that work at the company. There's that one story of the woman being was she assaulted or harassed by a male employee, and I'm not sure if this one popped up in the. Oh no, it was definitely in the Zach Lowe podcast briefly. The woman was, I can't remember whether she was assaulted or harassed by a male employee in her department. And the solution that was drawn to, a third party, I think it was a woman, made a complaint to the organization about the incident. The victim didn't. And the result of the investigation into it led to them just moving her seat. Now, for those of you that have worked in a small office or worked in cubicles, basically their department was 10 seats, 2 rows of 5, and they moved her from next to the person to behind the person.
That's ridiculous.
So all she had to do was stand up, and she could see the dude that had assaulted her or harassed her right in front of her every day for the rest of her time working there. And it's that kind of incompetence. It's that kind of just, again, toxic working environment that trickles down, right? When it's wrong at the top, it's always going to end up trickling down. It's always going to happen that way because you can't hold the top accountable. So then what it means is you can't turn around and be like, oh, misogyny is bad, sexual harassment's bad, sexual assault is bad, and then have the owner walking around doing what he's doing, right? Showing his wife in a bikini, bragging about fellatio and all of this stuff to other employees and then have an incident happen lower down the company and try and hold that person accountable.
Yeah.
Because that person would then have to do is go, what about that? What about that? What about that? What about that?
You could draw so many comparison with, again, the former president of the entire country, having the same sort of, and how people below him behave.
Yeah,
absolutely,
and still behaving to this day. But yeah, that's it. It does trickle down. It's just if the guy at the top is not, everybody's got their private life and they do some crazy stuff. But like if on your official function and your official public image is already, kind of dodgy.
yeah.
Like how are you gonna get the final word in saying, look, you can't behave that way? It's like, it's like telling your kid, don't do drugs whilst you
exactly
don't smoke,
doing coke on the sofa. Like,
don't
drink
beer.
It's bad for you, man. Like it's exactly like that. It's like, or don't drink alcohol while sipping a beer. Like, that kid or whoever you're talking to is not going to take you seriously or is not going to listen to your advice, and that's it. I mean, it does mean you can't do it yourself, but like, don't do it publicly. Anyway, it's messed up. It's messed up.
Yeah, it's bad. It's real bad. And I do really feel for the victims. And then quite nastily, I know they had to do it, but the end of the article states that they were told by Sarver's lawyers to basically contact 10 different people and get good character assessments from them about Sarver. So one of the people they contact is Steve Kerr, who says something along the lines of, "That's not the person I know." Yeah, it's just like, this is like, so what, right? Like, I'm pretty sure there's a ton of like mass murderers who can be like, "Hey, ask my mom about me, I'm a nice guy," and it's like, that doesn't mean you haven't done what you've done. It just means that you haven't shown everyone that side of you.
Yeah.
Well, it's exactly what I was watching somebody else on another topic of someone going, somebody got accused of, again, I think it was sexual assault, but then it was like, yeah, but what about the other guy? Look, he's murdered someone. And like, but that's nothing to do with how good or bad you are. It's like you're talking about somebody else. It's this stuff like, what are you trying to prove? Like, it's not because one person, anyway, it's madness. I don't even know how you get to that level. Like it baffles me, all this stuff. Every time I read about it, I'm like, how do you get to be a person like that? I don't really get it. I really don't. It's so foreign to me that I'm like,
he's clearly semi-detached from the rest of society, and
absolutely,
and money can do that to you. You get to live in a bubble, as you said. So yeah, hopefully something comes of it. Hopefully they're able to nail him down with something, and hopefully he's not long for NBA ownership. We then move to another story of a toxic work environment. Neil Olshey, GM of the Portland Trailblazers, is being investigated by the team.
So they also hired a private company to look into it. Nice.
Yeah. They say that he's created a toxic workplace with bullying and intimidation, and he's been in the job for a long time, for 10 years, I think. And they're investigating the levels of mental and physical stress he has caused the employees. There's talk of like profanity-laced tirades, intimidation, bullying tactics on various employees during his tenure there. And this is, I think the timing is appropriate, because I think they're trying to get ahead of the situation, given what's happening with Sarver. Also, from a PR standpoint, sadly, they can bury this story underneath all the things that are going on with
before
Sarver.
it comes out, basically, yeah. It becomes
so they can get out ahead of it. And I would say it seems like someone doesn't want him in the job, but they could just fire him.
Yeah,
that's a different position, so it's a different way of dealing with it. So if it's found, if those allegations are found to be true, then that's I guess a easier out for the Blazers.
I guess they can save a bit of money,
but they still of course, but like it's a lot harder to get rid of an owner. That one is bullying in a workplace is just I've seen a couple cases from my very own eyes, so I know that can ruin your life for a while until it's completely sorted. And I can't remember who it was again. I think it was on ESPN, and they're trying to interview Chauncey Billups about it. The guy was like, I don't know, I got other things to do, like I don't have time, like I've got a bunch of games to prep. So it's quite interesting to see that, even within the franchise, it's like I don't deal with the guy. So but again, this one, there's not much that's come out of it, right? I think they're pretty much keeping that on the lead. No, they don't really want to in a weird, twisted, funny way. It's like, like you said, the Sarver thing is like, it's a good timing this one came out, and they can kind of let that one slide underneath. It's not on the surface, first look, you're like, oh, that's not that bad. At least he didn't say the N word.
Yeah.
If you look into it, it must be absolute hell also for people in the organization, because I haven't seen it, and witnessed that kind of behavior firsthand. It's not a good time. You spend 8-10 hours, 12, especially like those franchises. You sometimes spend like 14 hours a day in there, if not a couple of days straight in. in those offices, if it's the middle of season or pre-season or whatever. And if that's what you have to go through, I can't even imagine the state of people. I mean, I'll be interested in that story. I want to keep an eye on it, except I need more, more first-hand accounts of it.
Yeah. And funnily enough, you mentioned Billup's statement. Who was it? I think it was Chris Paul and Monty Williams made statements about I think maybe Devin Booker as well, spoke about the Sarver situation, and they all basically said, we'll just wait for the investigation and see.
Yeah, they said we have to win games. Oh, and by the way, we made it to the finals last year, in case you forgot. Like, fair enough, like what can they say, man? Like they just kind of like need to focus, right?
It's very tricky, this kind of things. So like, especially on social media, like as soon as there's accusation being thrown around, and again, like the first case is now well documented when there's like 70 different witnesses and victims and stuff like that. So that one's a bit more, clean cut to me. But again, it's not hearsay, but I mean, it's like there's nothing tangible. There's nothing that we can see. Like I like to read this kind of stuff and make a judgment on a person. Like once there's like court documents and official versions of people, and it's always tricky when you see this kind of stuff and you ask the players as well. Like they're not going to be involved in that kind of stuff. Like coaches, like unless they've witnessed something in a meeting or something. But like the guy that's paid 30 million plus, like Chris Paul or Booker, like they're not going to see any of that BS happening in front of them. So of course it's clever enough, not to mix, those guys with his BS.
Yeah.
So that's why I feel like every time you ask those questions to players, it's a bit of a waste of time. Yeah. It's not that those guys you need to talk to. It's the alleged victim is the one that you should put live on air and get there if they want to, obviously. But get them to speak up.
Yeah, and then also we shouldn't necessarily be looking at players to take our own point of views from, right? You should look at the evidence that's laid out and make your own mind up about these things. The pressure shouldn't be on the players to represent either a demographic of people or to represent the truth in a situation like this. Because they're just people like us. So fix your ownership, guys. And your leadership. We moved to some actual B-ball related stuff. Finally,
let's talk about leadership on the court.
On the court,
lack of it.
It's gonna be interesting.
I did not suggest this topic, but
but why not?
are gonna talk a little bit about the roller coaster I mentioned last week, the play of Russell Westbrook.
It's like the world of Russell Westbrook, isn't it? I think you've called it several times the experience of
the Westbrook experience.
The Westbrook experience. How does it feel?
Tell us. What are the symptoms?
Within.
How do you feel? Like, what?
Is it contagious?
Do you have to stay in lockdown? Do you have to self-isolate?
It is worse than I thought it would be, honestly.
Oh, did you get that kitchen extension thanks to Westbrook? Did you manage to build a nice little extension?
New house. And it weirdly, it's not even the shooting, right? I know the last game he only shot 1 for 13.
Sorry.
But it's just it's more so like he's had some actual good games, right? He's had some games where he's produced, and he's managed to bring his turnovers down, and like we've won a few games when LeBron's been around anyway. But it's more just some of the decisions he makes. Like it really like has you scratching your head as to like what's happening upstairs when he's playing. And I'm not one of those people that thinks that there are people that think that all sportsmen are stupid, right?
No,
And
absolutely not. No.
I grew up playing
100% not.
sports,
Mm-mm.
and I also grew up being one of the smartest people in my year group, in any year group
Yeah,
I've been in.
it's many people who don't actually do any sports that come up with that. I've had that discussion, that debate so very often in my family, when there's like this one side that is
Right.
like they're all like teachers and like, what do they do, like, you know, very very like creative, or like very, yeah, like they're all like part of teaching family. And it's quite funny because you would think they'll be like, oh yeah,
They
sports
would
can
know.
teach you those values, or you have to use. It's quite the opposite. They're like, nah, man, sports people. It's like, I'm like, really? Like, have you ever actually played? Like, have you ever been on a court or on a field? They're like, dude, you need to think super fast, real quick, and do the right thing. It takes a lot of intelligence to.
And basketball is arguably one of the sports that you need to think the most. So it doesn't matter what your position is, and if you have one move, you need to think about when to do that move, you know, what to do on the court. So yeah, I agree with you, Dave. It's like when he completely left his defender the other day against the Thunder, you're like, why? You know you're not supposed to do that. You know better than that. It's not like nobody told you. You're not a rookie. That you know you're not 11 learning to play basketball. You're 33 years old. So why, Russ? Why?
Well, I think he had the J.R. Smith moment when he went.
Yeah, I have.
Updated to 2021, a James Harden moment.
Oh my God, that was bad.
Yeah, you always pick the ball up on the backcourt.
Always.
I've second guessed picking up the ball in the backcourt before, but I always eventually pick up the ball because there's just nothing else you can do, right?
Yeah.
If you let it roll out of bounds near your own hoop, then they get the ball under your hoop, right?
Yeah, it's one of those situations where you're like, you have to pick it up early. Yes. And if you miss that chance, you're like, ooh, what should I do now? I'm gonna look bad, I'm gonna look stupid. So I'm just gonna leave it until the end and look cool.
And then pick it up. Yeah. But either way, cool. You have to pick it up, right?
You have to pick it up.
I'm glad we talked about this. Thank you.
Yeah, I never spoken about this. It's one of those things that you don't talk about, you just do, right?
Unwritten rule in basketball. Just pick it at the end.
And like another thing, B-ball IQ wise, that I've been paying a lot of attention to lately is the difference between, because I'm having to see so many of them, live ball turnovers and dead ball turnovers. Right? If you're a player, the ball's going out of bounds, you're rushing for it, you can get to it, but you have to jump. So you can't, you either have to turn and throw the ball, you can throw the ball blindly. I would never advise it. Especially if you're underneath the opposition hoop. In fact, they say you should never save the ball under the opposition's hoop, because if you throw it to the wrong person, it's a fast break.
Yeah.
The right thing to do in that situation is always to jump, turn, and look. Right? Jump, turn, look. If you cannot get the ball to one of your players, just land out of bounds with the ball in your hands. Yep. And then you can drop the ball and get back on defense in time for the defense to set. Right? All of that, but I might be able to get it to this person. No. If you turn the ball over there, it's a bucket, a 2 or a 3 guaranteed.
Yeah.
Right? So just land out of bounds with the ball. It's the best way you can turn the ball over. And I see so much of that, even if it's just a jump pass, right? You jump, oh no, I'm in the air. Everyone's being guarded. Either shoot it before you land, right? If you can think and act quick enough, or just land with the ball.
Yeah.
Give it to the referee and get back on defense. Don't just throw it because, oh, I've jumped, so now I have to throw it. You're going to turn the ball over anyways, just like the backcourt thing. Turn the ball over on a dead ball situation.
Yeah, it's like turn the ball over, like select the least
damaging
situation, right? Like and you would expect that a player like him would have the decision making skills to make that decision, the best decision. I just think like sometimes it just like switches off. Like I think he's a very emotional player though. and sometimes his emotions take take the best of him, like make the best.
Yeah,
like, just
get the
take
better
over him. Yeah, take over him. Like he's. We saw it when he was playing in OKC and the year that Durant left. The guy was a monster, and so that can play in your favor. It played in his favor for most of his career, where he's just a monster. But as he's getting older, and he's not less athletic, maybe a little bit, but and especially now that he's in charge of the Lakers, he's not in charge of the Thunder. In charge of the Lakers with so many people expecting more of him. These weaknesses come out to the surface a lot more, don't they?
It's put on display even more so because he was brought in to get LeBron James off the court and get him to relax, and so he could do that 1-2 punch with AD, right? That was the idea behind, was to get bring some relief to LeBron so he could chill a little bit more on the bench. Yeah, and I think what's the stat? I think when LeBron's out, it's like they 0-5 or something like that. When it's AD and Westbrook together, I think something like that.
Yeah, they are.
Tragic like that.
Not 5 because LeBron was there 5. For 2 of the losses, but maybe 4.
There's something like that. Anyway, they haven't won a game.
No.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like when you get to a big franchise like that, and it's put on display even more so than anywhere else. It's like if you do what Westbrook does as a Laker, as a New York Knicks, or like the big names, the big teams that get a lot of followers, like they get a lot of broadcasts. Yeah, of course you're gonna get found out real quick. But that's what I say. It's like that Westbrook is one of those players that you love when he's younger because he runs around like almost sometimes, like that's why a lot of players are comparing him to a headless chicken at times, because like he'll give you 125%. If that's possible. He'll run around, he'll grab, like you said, like he'll jump out of bounds and trying to save that ball, even if it doesn't make any sense. He'll go for it. And that's great. Like when you get to that age now, when you're 33, when you, regardless of like LeBron, like how much money you throw at your body, you'll slow down. Like that's just nature. Then you have to be able to make your game evolve, and you have to be able to play slightly differently. You can still try and play, pedal to the metal and just run around and do that stuff. But like, if you're not able to use upstairs a little bit more than just your legs, that'll show. You'll be judged that way. And that was my issue always with Westbrook. It's like sometimes I look at him play and I'm like, sure, okay, you got a basket, you got a foul, you got stuff, but like a pass there, like moving the ball that way or doing that, like another choice would have been maybe more beneficial for the rest of the team, not just for you. That's where my problem is with Westbrook. It's like sometimes it's detrimental to the team because he'll know he'd grab a rebound, he'll know he'd get another 2 free throws, he'll know, and that might not be the best decision overall. But like that's it. It's like I'm gonna do me first, and then if it helps the teams, great, awesome.
I'm just. It's crazy, man. I'm sorry to interrupt you, man, but I'm shaking my head because I'm looking at some of his stats, man. Like, it's his lowest field goal percentage since his second season.
Oh, wow.
His second highest turnover percentage.
Wow, that's saying something.
Sorry, average. The dude had 49 turnovers this season already.
It's been what, 11 games?
10 games.
10 games.
That's
49 turnovers.
Almost
that's
5 a game.
That's 5 a game, man. That is,
and that's your point guard as well. I mean, yeah. All right.
I mean, at this rate, he's gonna have what, 800 turnovers or something like that. 400 turnovers. I don't know. It's crazy.
400, yeah. It's wild. And bearing in mind when he played, like when LeBron doesn't play, Rondo plays backup point. When LeBron does play, obviously LeBron has the ball in his hands quite a fair bit as well. So it's not like it's OKC post Kevin Durant and he's the only ball handler out there. There are other people touching the ball, holding the ball. So for him to have 5 turnovers,
that's something.
While having the ball, probably less than he's had it since he played with Harden, right?
Sure.
Harden's probably the only person who had the ball as much or more than him.
Sure.
it's not good. It's just not good. It's not good at all. And then, as I said, it's the nature of some of these turnovers. Like, and I think what's happening specifically at the Lakers, right? Because he's always been turnover prone.
Sure.
And he's never been a great shooter, right? But what's happening at the Lakers now, and I don't think there was a better visualization of that than the Portland game, was he's not able to create a favorable position for the defense, right? Not like he used to. So where at OKC, he would get that high pick and then be running downhill, and then obviously with a trail man or a pop man in Ibaka or Adams, and then you're staring at what would it be? How many players are there? A 4-on-3 situation, or an advantageous situation running downhill where someone has to stop him and then come off another attacker in order to do that. So there'll be an open man at all times. He's not able to do that right now. He's not able to beat his man off the dribble. And even coming off screens, he's not really able to like turn the corner and end up in an advantageous situation because they're going under all the screens. So he's just ending up having a bunch of screens set for him by DeAndre Jordan or Anthony Davis, and then having to pull up for mid-range jumpers because they're just sagging all the way into the paint.
Yeah.
And it then means that he's also not able to take advantage of the lob game. He's thrown a few lobs. But yeah, he's not been able to just dump the ball into the dunker spot or get to the rim and kick out for threes and stuff like that. He's just not able to create any kind of advantage for the team. And that is where a lot of his turnovers are coming from.
Yeah.
So he'll get frustrated that he can't get to the rim, but then once the team stops scoring, he's like, oh, well, I have to do something. Like you were saying about the passion, the drive, which is still there. And it's nice. And then he'll be like, oh, I have to do something. And he'll drive into like 3 players.
Yeah.
Right. At the end of that OKC game, I think he had the chance to cut it to 1 in semi-transition, but he was outnumbered. And he drove the ball into 3 players, did a Euro step, lost his handle, and threw the ball out of bounds. And then they were able to come down the other side and get a score, which was eventually the very score that left them up for the rest of the game, right? It was a 1-point game when he left Lou Dort. And yeah, like if you can't create an advantage, then you have to be able to shoot.
But he can't.
And he can't.
Yeah, that's when you have to be clever enough to allow yourself to evolve into a different type of player. But then
what is that kind of player though? What is he? I don't see him playing as a different type of player. You need to kind of like adapt to him in a way, right?
Well, that's the other discussion then. That's that maybe he's not the best fit for the Lakers.
He's not.
That Lakers team right now.
Clearly not.
Yeah.
But again, that can be, you can't move him right now. Or would you move Westbrook? You can't really. I mean, you could, but do you want to? I don't know.
I think that's
why the evolution comes in for me. It's like maybe ask him to. But again, is he going to do that? Having played his whole career that one way.
I think the guy is more reasonable than we think he is. So he showed that in the Wizards. So I think obviously we are as worried as we are about him because he's in the Lakers. He was doing this last year as well. Right, sure. And the Wizards were losing, and we didn't do a Westbrook episode because it's just Westbrook and the Wizards. Right? These are the Lakers, right? And obviously, the president of the podcast is making us do it, but this toxic environment.
Don't worry. Once he's gone, the bullying will stop. We'll do something a bit more democratic.
So obviously, jokes aside, the point is that these are the Lakers. This is LeBron James is playing with him, so you would expect Westbrook, such a high-profile player and a high-profile team, to perform. So it's very early; it's 10 games in, so we still have 70, right? So things can change.
Do we have to?
Extend it. Extend the experiment. The experience. Take it.
Yeah. So that's it. I say let's give him some time. Let's catch up again on this in like 3 weeks.
Couple months. Yeah.
I'll just wait until the All-Star break. That's what I want to. That's a
lot. That's a lot of time. That's
exactly. Let it
deadline.
go.
You say.
Let it run.
But it's do his thing, man.
Yeah, I mean, there are things that the team can do to help him out, and there are ways to get him to be in advantageous situations, like getting him going downhill a little bit more. I think that's something that I've also wanted them to do with AD. The Lakers offense tends to be static. And I think getting the ball to a player like AD, a player like LeBron, a player like Westbrook, actually going downhill towards the basket, like even if it's like a high dribble handoff where even if the man goes under, you have a couple of steps to actually gain some momentum going towards the hoop so that you can either get fouled or compromise them, have them running backwards rather than walling you off. Just little things like that can help free up a Westbrook or get into a 2v1, 3v2, 4v3 situation on a basketball court. And they've also experimented a little bit with Westbrook setting screens for LeBron. Obviously, LeBron's not in the game, and I do not want him playing with Rondo at all. But that kind of thing where if he's the role man, because you then have to respect LeBron's shot a little bit more. You definitely have to respect LeBron's drive. You're putting players in positions where you don't want to switch your point guard onto LeBron, like he'll eat them up. So so then you're getting advantageous situations that way. And if you do get the ball to Westbrook in that situation, then he's got a 4-on-3. And he's able to operate a lot closer to the basket where he can do a lot more damage as a passer and as a scorer. Just little things like that to help benefit him. But yeah, he's struggling. I mean, AD as well went out in the Portland game, and I don't know if you guys saw the box score. None of the starters scored in double digits.
That's crazy.
It's like the Lakers have had a very bad team in the past. I don't think I've ever seen a box score that looks like that. I recommend you have a look at it. Saturday night game. Lakers lost 90-105.
Gosh.
And to be fair, got a lot of bench points.
Nice.
I like the way you spin it. Yeah.
A lot of garbage time, a lot of bench points. Sekou Doumbouya got 8 minutes.
Hell yeah.
Scored in double digits.
Good for him.
But yeah, look at those starters, man. Westbrook, 8 points. Avery Bradley, 4 points. DeAndre Jordan, 6 points. Kent Bazemore, 4 points. And Anthony Davis only played 7 minutes, had 2 points.
And Westbrook played 30 minutes, man.
Yeah. Bad.
That's
real bad.
Give him time.
Oof, he was
Till the All-Star break.
All right. I think that's enough for today. We'll be back with more next week. Hopefully more hoops talk. More and more hoops talk. Been a very interesting season. Looking at the standings, things are still looking very interesting out there. Plenty of stuff going on. Rookie's still killing it. I'm gonna keep banging the what's his name? Now I can't remember his name. How can I bang the drum if Orlando Magic guard second year?
Cole?
Cole Anthony. Yeah, still killing shit. I hope he keeps it up long enough for us to actually talk about him.
Oh, if you want to see a really interesting player, go watch Scotty Barnes from the Raptors.
Scotty Barnes.
Oh, that guy. I like him.
Can I say my player of the week then?
Yeah, go on.
Ricky Rubio.
No, we don't do that.
Rubio.
Mute.
8 of 9, 3-pointers, 10 assists. Underrated.
Fine. If you want to play that game, I'll give it to my man right here. Look at this guy right here. Yeah, look at. You see that 3-pointer right there? Yeah.
Yeah, but nah.
8 for 9, 3-point shooting as well.
37 points. Come on.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, buzzer beater.
And the Cavs are winning, man. They're 7-4.
Yeah,
that's just wrong. See,
yeah,
no, it's not. They're playing well.
Sexton's gotten injured as well, so it looks like Rubio could be starting for now.
That's what they need.
He seems to have a meniscus injury. So hopefully he's all right and he'll be back soon. But yeah, they've been rolling. Evan Mobley killing it. So yeah, it looks like we'll be doing our rookie episode early this year.
Hell yeah.
And in the industry, we call that a tease. So remember to like, share, subscribe, rate, and review the podcast wherever you listen. We're on Stitcher, we're on SoundCloud, we're on Apple, we're on Spotify. If there's anywhere you want us to be, let me know. Please watch us on YouTube, like the video, subscribe to the video, hit the bell. Hi guys, I know you guys hear that all the time from YouTubers. Hi guys. So yeah, we're on there too. I think that is all. So from me, David Sagoe, from Thomas Arnal.
Almost. Hi, goodbye.
And from Jose Garcia, Vidal.
Thank you. Good night.
We're out of here.
Bye.